anybody that knew me before I started transitioning, like they've noticed like how much happier I've been, like the pictures that I've taken, and like I can just look back and see like, you know, like I'm smiling a lot more here like than I was back then. Like I feel so much more comfortable with like myself and the way I'm presenting myself. It's like I was a miserable little teenager.
I'm just happy to be myself, comfortable in my own skin. I'm really grateful that I was able to be born in this age, in this era, this time, that I could change things that didn't feel right to me. So it's a good thing to be able to do that and live my life the way I like.
It was only recently, a few years ago, that I really found myself and came out. Before, when I was younger, like I've always felt a little bit different. One day I just woke up and I felt like doing it. So I just kind of started putting on makeup, and like I looked at myself in pictures and I thought I felt like really good. So I just went with it. And as my hair got longer and I figured out my style and makeup and all that, I just feel so much more comfortable and so much more like myself.
I actually have not really endured things like a lot of stories that I've heard for other girls in my community. So I never thought of myself as different in the sense of, you know, my mindset and having goals and reaching them successfully. I can't really say that there's been many things that have made my life different. If anything, I think me being a trans girl has really just brought me a lot of confidence and success in many ways in life, because I feel like I have to prove myself just a bit more than the others.
Coming out in Alabama was pretty hard. I was in a college town when I actually came out, and it's been pretty tough. Like, you know, with like all the different stares and stuff that I get. Like sometimes it feels like, I don't know if they're staring at me because they think I'm pretty, or they're staring at me because they think I look weird, or they're like, oh, that's a trans person, you know, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You always have that anxiety there.
Dating has been a little bit difficult. I'll go on dates with guys and they won't know that I'm trans. And once I tell them, like, some are still cool with it, others are not so interested. So dating is kind of just totally absolutely weird. My family, I haven't really, I don't know, my mom is still trying to wrap her head around it. She still has problems calling me the correct name and the correct pronouns.
My grandmother, for sure. I'd say my grandmother and also Maya Angelou, because I've always loved her poetry and she's always been an inspiration. But on a personal level, my grandmother, for sure.
The story of trans girls I hear is most people just try to figure it out on their own. But the good thing about today is obviously there's the internet and YouTube where you can find everything, and also transgender blogs. So that's really, YouTube was really just a huge part of what helped me out, because I learned how to do makeup. I followed other trans girls on there who were going through transition, and their stories were really good.
There's not just one person. When I was in Auburn, I was in a big LGBT group there, and everyone in that group has been super supportive, and everyone is just really kind to each other. There's not the drama and the politics involved behind it. People are just oh, you're LGBT, so you're one of us and we're gonna treat you like we would want to be treated.
I had a friend who lived in Alabama, and her name was Tara, and Alabama is not so friendly. It's not that great of a place for trans people, so we became good friends online, and I invited her to stay at my place in California until she gets a place. So she got on a plane and lived with me for a while, and that really allowed her to come out and, you know, figure herself out. Because, you know, when she came, she needed to figure things out as far as her transition goes, and she's doing really good now. Like I said, being in California like really helps out. People are really open compared to other places.
I try to be about as open about it as possible. Like if someone has questions and they just want to ask me, like on my Tumblr, like I say, feel free to ask me like whatever questions you want. So if anybody does have those type of questions, and I've helped a few people out, a few close friends, basically explain to them what I went through and try to help them.
I just tried my best to, you know, educate them in the sense of business and lifestyle, you know, giving positive influence, you know, supporting them to go after being educated, you know, knowing that they can transform and go after living a normal life and create businesses and be successful outside of the adult world.
I used to not really like any term that had to do with being transgender, and I hope this doesn't sound terrible to other trans people, but like at first I really wanted to, because I was trying to just blend, I was trying to be just a normal woman and trying not to stand out or anything like that, so I really just didn't care for those terms. I tried to separate myself. Before I used to just be like, I'm just female, period, that's it, there's nothing else, like I'm a girl and that's it. But I don't know, I've gotten more comfortable, and when people are looking for you, those are the terms that, you know, that they look for. She-male, tranny, it's a really bad word, and people don't really like that one. I don't really care for it, but, you know, like, I've just gotten used to it, and I'm more open about who I am, what I am, the fact that I'm transgender.
I would say they're all the same. I'm all of those things or titles or whatever people would like to call me. Nothing bothers me in that sense. I know who I am, so whatever terms people feel comfortable using to, you know, point out to someone like myself, it's fine.
You know, I consider myself to be transsexual because I want the surgery or whatever, but like if someone says, oh, you're transsexual, that doesn't bother me, but if people start saying like tranny or she-male or lab or whatever, like the really derogatory terms, it's like, that offends me. And I feel like if you are trans, that should offend you.
I would have to say more than anything, probably my relationships. Having been married before for 4 years, and I lived a really traditional lifestyle, and my husband was a much older individual. So I think after having left that lifestyle and delving myself back into the adult world, I realized that being more independent was more for me than having someone kind of control and rule my own household. I think I'm definitely a Leo in those kinds of senses. So I think more than anything, my relationships, my friends always call me love and chaos. My personal relationships in my life have always been a bit of a struggle because I end up with very powerful, domineering individuals. So I think it's always been a struggle to kind of balance my own power and influence in a relationship versus my partners as well. So I would say probably that.
I've gone through a lot. Being in Alabama, growing up in the South, I was born and raised in a Baptist church, basically. And I feel like just me experiencing all the different cultures that I've been around from my young age, I feel like I'm a lot stronger than I would be if I hadn't have transitioned.
Growing up, I was horribly depressed. High school, I almost didn't even graduate because I would just sleep in all my classes. That's how depressed I was. It was to the point where I just couldn't even function. I was doing absolutely nothing. So getting over that was a huge deal for me. Finding out in my life that who I was wasn't actually who I wanted to be, and then figuring out who I wanted to be, and you have to really have a lot of courage to just make that change and just totally be an absolutely different person.
I actually told my family that they named me wrong, and I won't tell all the details, but that I was a little girl and I came down the stairs in a sheet I made into a gown and thought that I was fabulous, and I thought that they were silly that they didn't recognize that I was a girl. And that was really a turning point for them to realize. So I was able to get past a lot of obstacles, I think, that some transgender youth deal with as teenagers with family very early on.
If I could go back in time, I would definitely tell myself, like when I was 13 and I tried coming out to my mom, I would be like, go back and tell myself, be like, stick with it. Like, don't join the military. Don't, think that these feelings aren't real, and don't believe the garbage that my parents are trying to brainwash me with, to avoid all the miserable years of middle school.
Everything's going to be fine, for sure. I think not realizing what a transgender person was, I have not seen one physically myself until I was 18 years old. I just thought that there was no way that I'd be able to become the woman that I've become today, as far as physically, until I, moved up to the north. I lived in Tennessee for a long time growing up, and there was no people like myself there. So when I got older and I met friends like myself, I finally realized it's going to be fine. You're going to be able to be exactly who you want to be. So I would just tell that little kid, that's going to be fine.
Just being a young kid in middle school and seeing girls like wearing skirts and cute stuff, cute hair and things like that, I would always think to myself, like, wow, I wish I could wear that, but at the time I didn't have the whole realization that I was transgender. Maybe if I had the retrospect of, knowing that I'm actually more comfortable being a transgender person, all those thoughts and the weirdness would have made sense, and I don't know, I may have transitioned at a lot younger age. I just wish people were more open-minded and not so judgmental and just more open. I don't understand why people are so close-minded in the world, and I don't understand why anybody has any problem with anybody being transgender. None of that makes any sense to me, and just people being close-minded doesn't make any sense to me. Life to me is just about doing whatever and just being accepting, and nothing is a big deal. Nothing is.
I guess just make sure that people just treated other people the way they wanted to be treated. It's the simplest rule to go by, yet for some reason it's such a hard concept for people to grasp.
Gosh, I would have to say people just recognizing humanity and being compassionate. Everyone goes through struggles. Everyone is dealing with a personal issue. Everyone has dealt with problems in their lives, and I think everyone could just simply recognize that every other person that you deal with or walk by or have a discriminating thing to say against is going through something just like you are, and just show compassion and love, and I think that everybody would be so much better. It kind of shocks me when you read the news or watch TV and hear all these incredibly crazy things. In 2013, you'd think that we would have our things together by now, but I would think definitely compassion and humanity and recognizing that everyone is going through something.